Finding Your Why. My name is Daniel J. Smith. I'm the host of Edmonton Real, a podcast that delivers unique guests and unique conversations and some powerful thoughts in helping people find their why. What makes people happy and discover new, fresh ideas that might inspire you to take action in your own life. This Edmonton Real podcast may be the platform that helps you change or give you that spark you need to make a change. Let's all grow together. This is Edmonton Real. Welcome to Edmonton Real. I'm your host, Daniel J. Smith. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my Edmonton Real YouTube channel so that you get all the new episodes, because you don't know which episode it may be that changes your life. This is Edmonton Real. I'm your host, Daniel J. Smith. This podcast delivers unique conversations and powerful thoughts, and may be the key that you need to unlock your greatness and help you realize your true potential in life and your true identity. And this podcast may be what helps you find your why in life. My guest today is Hartigan. Mark is a retired NHL hockey player. I'm going to go over his hockey resume now. He is a two-time NHL Stanley Cup champion, MVP of the 1997 Royal Bank Cup, WCHA Player of the Year in 2001-2002, St. Cloud State Huskies University all-time scoring leader, most goals scored in a period, most goals scored in a single season, most assists in a single season, most shorthanded goals in a single season, most points in a single season, and perhaps one of his most prestigious hockey moments, he was a Hobey Baker finalist like NHL greats Brian Leetch, Joe Nieuwendyk, Anna Moats, Paul Kariya, and the great Brett Hull. Played hockey over in the KHL, played in the NHL for the Atlanta Thrashers, Columbus Blue Jackets, Anaheim Ducks, and Detroit Red Wings. Won back-to-back Stanley Cup rings. Won a Stanley Cup ring with Anaheim Ducks in 2007. Won a Stanley Cup ring with the Detroit Red Wings in 2008. And a crazy, crazy stat when I did my research. I have a crazy stat here. I love my hockey stats, and Mark's is insane. There are less than 10 men that have walked this planet Earth, that have won back-to-back Stanley Cup rings with two different NHL teams, and Mark is one of those men. Again, I'm going to repeat that. There is only less than 10 men that have walked this planet that have won back-to-back Stanley Cup rings with two different teams, and Mark is one of those men. Mark, what an honor to have you on Edmonton Real. Welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks so much for...
Have you ever had an intro like that?
It's not quite a Tiger Woods intro, but I like it. No, that's excellent. Just for all the listeners out there, KHL is the Russian League. The WCHA, that's the NCAA Division I in St. Cloud, where you play against the Wisconsin Badgers, Minnesota Gophers, North Dakota. You know what? I was just so blessed just to be able to have that path, and going, like, hearing you say that already, memories just
takes you back.
Just taking me back.
Show the gold. Let's see the rings.
Okay.
Let's see the
Okay,
rings.
well,
Put them right up to the camera. I want to see them.
Okay, here. So I was a black ace for Anaheim Ducks. Got traded there by the end. So
boom!
Sorry,
look at the diamonds on that bad boy.
There's that. It says Hartigan. I was number 13. I got a lot of flack because I didn't realize when I got traded there right by the deadline that Timo Solani just changed his number to number 8, because when he was first with the Ducks, somebody was already wearing number 8. So before I got there, he changed to 13, and people thought I was trying to suck up to him.
Oh, wow. Because he was 13 in Winnipeg.
Then he was wearing, but his actual number that he always wanted was number 8.
Yeah.
And so that's why he ended up.
He's got
with
like
that.
one of the best hockey celebrations ever when he won. When he threw his glove up and just. I love that. Let's see the Detroit one.
So here's the other side of it.
Okay, there's the Ducks.
Is that too close? So that shows our record: 16-5 in 2007. So 16 wins, 5 losses in the playoffs.
Cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
And it says California's first cup.
Nice.
It
says that on there?
Yeah, it says that on there. Awesome. Right it's really hard to see, obviously, on camera. If you look on the top there, California's first cup.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And then this one's not too bad.
Look at that, huh? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
Wow.
the cool thing is all the wives got what you're looking at right now. They got that in a pendant form, a necklace.
No way. Awesome.
Yeah, that was really, really cool.
So they can like wear it on like dresses or, something like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they have all the cups they have won over the years and the dates.
That is amazing. Look at that.
That's really cool. I really like that. And
so that's the cup that Mark won with the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah.
In 08.
And then you see in the big cup it says 2008.
Yeah. Awesome,
and then on this
brother.
side, of course.
Yeah.
Hartigan,
so which one do you like better?
Oh. Are you looking at these?
What's that?
You are looking at these, right?
it's like the kids, huh? Which one do you like better? You can't pick one.
But if we're going with worth, it's that one.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no problem. But the most meaningful one, I got to show you this though. Sure. The most meaningful one. If I didn't get my grad ring, none of this all would have happened. If I didn't get this, none of that all would have happened.
Yeah. Schooling's important, man.
For all the kids out there, I'm telling you, get that done. Get it done.
Awesome, man. No, thanks for sharing. It's awesome to see those.
No problem.
Yeah, and I imagine they're just massive when you wear them. Do you wear them at special occasions?
Special occasions.
Yeah,
going
sometimes.
out for galas and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Good conversation starters.
Yeah, no, they're beautiful rings. So my starting question, Mark, is always the same. So who is Mark Hartigan? Where were you born? What type of home did you come from? What was your childhood like? What led you down the path you went down in life? I'm always fascinated by where people have come from and how they achieved their level of success in the past they took to obtain their success.
A lot of questions in one question.
It is. Who's Mark? And where did he come from?
Do you know what? Very simple. Just like many Canadians, small town. My parents were divorced when I was 6 years old. That's never easy, but I didn't, when you're that young, you really don't understand. I ended up moving from Nova Scotia with my family when I was in, I think, grade 3, and then going to Fort St. John, BC, and then ended up going to school there until I graduated, living with my mother at the time, and my dad was living in Fort McMurray with my brother, and I was living with my mom and my sister. Then from there, just minor hockey, same old type of thing as like every other kid. But I loved being out on the outdoor rinks. Loved that. And I loved it. And the passion for hockey just kept building and building and building. And then from there, I didn't, as you know now, we didn't have internet access. We didn't have all those other outlets like YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So you ended up getting all your highlights were from like Channel 2, CBC, watching Friday night hockey or Saturday night hockey, like whenever you can get any of that. So, you had to use your own imagination. So I didn't really watch hockey. I enjoyed watching the highlights. I enjoyed being out on the ice. So from there, just out to, I ended up playing, like, oddly enough, I don't want to say oddly, but I was never a rep league player. I never made the team. I always got cut.
No way.
The only year I made rep league was midget, which is, if anybody knows, in Canada, that's the last year of minor hockey. And I made it my first year because there wasn't enough players.
You go from that to the NHL is phenomenal.
And it was one of those things. There was many things when you look back. I think you can ask any pro athlete that there's a turning point. Mine was, I made it and I did really well that year. And then the next year I played again, midget AAA for our team, because I did really well the next year. I made the team legitly. But then I was getting called up to the junior team a few times because we were the affiliate. And I was doing well there. So then the next year after that, I played for our affiliate team in Fort St. John. And we were called the Fort St. John Huskies. And we were in the Rocky Mountain Junior Hockey League. And not many people will know Rocky Mountain Junior Hockey League, but it's still Junior A. The BCJHL, which is the British Columbia Junior Hockey League. And so at the end of the year, the two champions for both leagues would have to play off against each other to go on to the championship.
Okay.
And the BCJHL team usually swept them because they were a higher caliber, even though we're both still Tier 2 Junior A. So at the end of my rookie season with the Fort St. John Huskies, we ended up Grand Prairie Storm ended up going into the Alberta Junior Hockey League. The Prince George Cougars, like these are the two teams that were in the Rocky Mountain Junior Hockey League. Prince George Cougars ended up affiliating with the BCJHL. So now with us being so far north, we had nobody to play with. So Fort St. John had to turn to Junior B. And at that point in my career, I was like, well, if I can play Junior A, I'm going to play Junior A. And then so I got a few letters coming to me from different Junior A teams, Trail, Penticton. But the one that interests me the most was from Weyburn, Saskatchewan. I was like, you know what? I'm young. I'm like, I want to get far away from where I'm at, like most kids. I don't want to say all. There's some kids that want to stay close to home. But I was like, I want to get away. And then I ended up going there, made the team, and my next 2 years changed my life. And that turning point with those two, Grand Prairie, Prince George going to Grand Prairie going to AJHL, Prince George going BCJHL, was my absolute turning point that I think changed everything.
What's crazy, Mark, is Michael Jordan never made his high school basketball team.
I wish I had Michael Jordan's money.
But I mean, there's some similarities here. It's because if a lot of people that don't know hockey, like AAA, pretty much you have to play AAA your whole life to typically get a shot at the NHL. For what the level of growth you experienced in a couple years is just,
it was big.
It's insane.
Huge.
It's insane. That's why I compare it to Michael Jordan, because he went from not making his high school team to a couple of years later playing in the NBA and dominating the NBA, which was just massive growth. So I do that comparison, and it's absolutely crazy.
There's lots of late bloomers out there. Like blooming is it's not like, I'm just thankful I was able to bloom. But you know what, that's where we always, when I coach these kids and try to talk to the parents, being like, everybody develops at their own way, their own speed.
Yeah.
And so everybody, don't force too much too soon. Let them develop as much as possible. Can you hear my son yelling?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. Wayne Gretzky, when I watched the interview with him, he said that when he was growing up, there were some hockey players that were better than him, but maybe they didn't have the financials, or they were addicted to drugs, and they just kind of get let off the path, because it takes a lot of things. And typically in hockey, it's a lot of help to get there, a lot of coaches, a lot of family help. And you mentioned Nova Scotia, because I'm from Nova Scotia. So was your family back there for a few years?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the only one that was born in Alberta. My mother, my dad, Truro, Halifax, my sister in Bridgewater, my brother.
Wow, I used to live in Truro and Bridgewater.
Yeah.
So have you gone back to Nova Scotia at all?
Oh yeah. Like from my dad's 60th birthday, we met him. What's that golf course just outside of Bridgewater? It's a beautiful golf course where planes can land. I don't know. Me and my sister ended up surprising him there. I can't think of it.
There's a lot of nice golf courses back there.
There is, and people don't realize it. They think, oh no, there's oh my God, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia.
I played a lot of hockey PEI. I played a lot of hockey PEI. I just remember being very cold because there's no trees, and I just remember it freezing.
I can tell you more about more of my hockey experiences with Royal Bank Cup was in Summerside, PEI, my first one, when I won the MVP. That
Nice.
you brought up earlier.
And I probably played at some of the same rinks as you because I played a lot of hockey over there in Summerside.
It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I play with a lot of guys from PEI. Well, we'll get into this later.
Yeah.
Columbus Blue Jackets was pretty much all PEI alum in the upper management.
No way.
Starting with Doug McLean.
Interesting.
We'll talk more about that in a bit.
And since we're talking about Nova Scotia, I mean, you're familiar with it. It's small town. Absolutely crazy what happened with the shootings down there. And, because I'm from there, it's small town, and I live out Western Canada now. But it's just crazy because you never think of that happening to because it's really small town communities. So it's crazy.
And do you know what? It's funny. I just listened to, sorry, I'll let you finish.
No, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I was just I saw Sidney Crosby. He had an interview on TSN with James Duthie tonight. And it was just a brief conversation. And it is so true. Everybody thinks, well, it's never going to happen in my town. Mm-hmm. It's never going to happen here. But it's unbelievable. Like, it can happen anywhere. Like, devastating things happen
anywhere.
Anywhere. And you always, everybody's like, well, I don't need to be prepared. I don't need to do this or be cautious. But you always got to have, and like with Canadians, we're always so polite. We're always so, outgoing and willing to help somebody. And in a way, we almost put ourselves in danger when we do that. And we don't want to think that way. I don't think Canadians ever think this way. And it's sad that we have to start thinking that way, where we have to make sure everybody's not a danger. Yeah. Instead of going, hey, bud, how you doing? Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And that's what really kind of gets to me right now, because I want my kids to grow up being like outgoing, friendly, and knowing everybody, like talking to a stranger, like going, hey, can I help you out, without knowing that there's a possibility that they're in danger. And it's very hard to see when you see stuff like that with Nova Scotia on TV. Obviously the people that have passed that is like absolutely heartbreaking. I know I cried. Me and my wife were sitting there drinking coffee and like just tears coming down our eyes. It's again, you don't think it's going to happen. Not yet Nova Scotia, but in Canada. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't even think, if we're watching CNN, it happened somewhere over wherever in the world, it'd be like, you really don't think much of it. But when you do hear stuff like that, man, it hits hard.
With COVID, crime rate has gone up, right? Because when people kind of get, when there becomes financial issues and what have you, then you see the crime rate go up. So it's hopefully we're not, here for much longer, but nobody knows. We don't know if it's going to be 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. But
people are surviving.
Yeah.
They're trying to survive.
It's tough times for sure. I'm going to talk about what we have in common section. So I'm always interested to see what I have in common with my guests. So we have a little bit in common. So I did some research and we have some things in common. So I'm going to list them off now. We're both realtors, both been in real estate. We both played hockey growing up. We both lived in Fort McMurray. We have both been to the Vatican and the Colosseum in Rome, which was awesome.
Love it.
Which was awesome. Gladiator's my favorite movie. I was just like, Mom, take a picture now. I was like standing there with it, pretending to have
mine and my wife's best vacation ever.
Like when you learn about Rome and the history of Rome as a kid, it's cool. But when you go in person, all that, the floodgate just comes out and you're just like,
honestly, it gives me shivers you talking about it right
now. Get this. So really I went to the battlefields. I went to the battlefields of 300. I didn't even know that was an actual thing. There was an actual battlefield about 300, and I was on the battlefield. And I was just like, I didn't even know this existed.
It blows your mind, doesn't it?
But
even walking down the alleys, you're like, and then you pop out and there's the Pantheon. You're like, no. You thought it was out in the field or something like that and just a big building. It blows your mind.
Did you go to Venice?
What's that?
Did you go to Venice?
No, my wife did with another
did
friend.
she go through a gondola ride in Venice?
She did, and it was kind of cool.
Man. Me and my mom went down a gondola ride in Venice, and it was one of the coolest things. Here's a funny story. Here's a funny story. So
before you start the story, just ask me about my favorite European spot.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, I just don't want to forget because
European spot. It's a good one. Okay, so we're at we're in Venice and we're on a boat, of course, because it's all water. And they're like, I forget the movie that was shot there. It was Angelina Jolie and Johnny Depp.
No, was it Salt?
No, it wasn't Salt, but they were in a movie together. I forget what it was. But anyways, they were.
No, that was a good movie. I know
they were.
You're talking about.
The tour guy was saying, "Oh, this is that movie. This is that," and we're sitting there, and we come to like lights, and there was a fire, and I'm like, "Fire? We're on water." But get this. So then a fireboat truck came through traffic. And everybody just stopped. And I'm just like, what is going on? So it's just so weird, right? So their fire truck was actually a fire boat and on water going to put out the fire. It was just, it was just so weird.
And the cool thing, so I assume they don't have fire hydrants. They just have the tube going down below the boat and just.
It was so weird. I was just like, what just happened there?
That's pretty neat to see, though.
It was pretty
like
cool.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Even the locals probably don't see that
I'll
very
finish
often.
what we have in common, then we'll go back to your
Okay, sure. Yeah, fire away. Go ahead.
So we both played centerman in hockey. Our positions that we both played in hockey was centerman. We both been to Jamaica, which we could probably talk about for another half an hour just about Jamaica.
Yes.
We were both big fans of Wayne Gretzky growing up, like most little boys and little girls.
How can you not?
We both moved a lot to different towns and cities growing up, and we both have been bungee jumping.
Love it.
Were you scared? Were you scared?
Loved it. I was so excited to do it.
No
and do you know what? The first time I did it was at the original bungee jumping location in New Zealand.
Like the first, real.
The first bungee jumping location.
Where'd you say
it was? That's why I was so excited. In New Zealand.
No way.
Yeah, it was awesome. We I ended up getting luckily enough in summer of 2011. You know the name Kyle Quincy, D-man, played at the NHL a bunch. Yeah. Anyway, I played with him in that year with Detroit, and after that year, because we were both up and down with Detroit and Grand Rapids and Detroit. Yeah. So his good friend in Ontario, Kerry Goulet, was putting together a U.S.-Canada team to go over and play in New Zealand, 3 games in New Zealand. So he set it up, and it was for a charity for concussion awareness. And I got asked to go play over there. So it was unbelievable. We played 3 games, 1 game in Auckland, 1 game in Dunedin, 1 game in, we were supposed to play in Christchurch, but they just had that huge, was it earthquake or tornado? It was an earthquake, and it shattered half the city.
Oh, wow.
So then that's where we played Dunedin. The other one, Queenstown. Queenstown is where all the adrenaline junkies go. So and we ended up.
That would be cool. The first. There.
It was unbelievable.
Oh man,
here,
that's awesome.
I gotta look what I gotta put my.
You got this in
New Zealand.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty wild. What is that?
Yeah, so in New Zealand I got that in Auckland.
No way.
So there's a lot of different meanings in there.
Did they do that in one session? You were only there for 3 games.
About with family and stuff when I was there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it was painful because back when I had muscle there, it hurt.
Back when I had muscle there,
it hurt. But that time, that was just before I went to Switzerland. And
I've got all the places.
It's amazing.
It's pretty remarkable. We'll talk about that. So let's talk about your European spot. Your favorite European spot. You told me.
Oh, Riga. It has to be Riga, Latvia. It was unbelievable. You know what? After I got done with Detroit, I didn't know, like, I knew I was going elsewhere because I knew my days were limited,
Yeah.
and I was gonna, at this point, I wasn't a mainstay in the NHL, and I had to make some money,
Yeah.
because I don't know what's gonna happen afterwards. And then the KHL was really, really coming to be evolved.
Starting to take
And
off.
then
Yeah.
and then Riga, Latvia used to be in the Super League back in the early 90s, or I'm a little bit ignorant on this part. I feel bad when I don't know. It could probably be in the 80s. But they weren't a team for a long time. So Riga, Latvia used to be part of the USSR, but they gained independence into the EU in 93 or 95. And so now when the KHL was now they're hell bent on making the best league in the world. And that's still their goal, which is great, because they are truly taking that approach, and they're trying to keep and get all the best players there, and of course that takes some time. And so Gazprom in the KHL or in Russia, they are the biggest gas company in all of Russia. Gazprom, like, lots of money. So I'll get into more about how they spend the money. So they told Riga, you know what, here's a $20 million loan for the next 4 years, $5 million a year, start building a team. So we ended up, myself and Duvie Westcott, we both got recruited there for the first KHL season of Dynamo Riga. And I was like, where the heck is that? I'm like, you know what? I get phone out and my agent, I'm like, I'm not going to somewhere like, it's not a common term around here of where you're going or where it's at. And they're like, well, look it up, do some research and talk to some people. So I did that, and I was like, you know what? It seems pretty good. But as soon as I landed there, oh my God, it was amazing. Like, we're right on the Baltic Sea. If anybody knows what the Baltic Sea is, Riga is literally right across the Baltic Sea from Stockholm, Sweden. And so we're right there, if you want to call it east or west, but it's on the west side of Russia by Lithuania. And I didn't realize at that point, I was so naive, Estonia was a country. I thought Pauly Shore, those movies back in the day.
Over there, man, there's tons and tons of little countries.
There's so many countries.
So many.
And it was so cool
beautiful
just to see them all.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend anybody that's going over there to do the Baltic cruise. You go to Stockholm, you go to Finland, you go to Estonia, you go to Latvia. Latvia Old Town, like in Riga, is amazing. It truly is. And
I have a buddy that just went over there, and he was like, he got offered, or a buddy asked him that he wanted to go over for the World Juniors to watch Canada. And he wasn't, Canada hasn't done well the last couple of years. So he's like, oh, I don't know if we're going to win, so he went over. They ended up winning, as you know, the World Juniors.
Yeah.
And then he went to all these places, and he's like, Dan, it was just remarkable. And a bunch of the places that you just mentioned, he just went to all of them, and he was just like, it was an amazing, amazing trip.
The fans in Latvia,
yeah,
they still say it during the Olympics, like the announcers, or like our announcers, they're like, they are the best fans that you can ever imagine.
Soccer fans over in Europe.
They're spectacular, but they're so, like, they're loyal. They're just always there.
Yeah.
Like, they're so positive. They're on it. Like, they're to a point. Honestly, unless you like witness it firsthand, you will never really understand how they are. They are, I'm telling you, hands down, the best.
Nice.
They're
nice.
Unbelievable.
Nice. No, I got to do more traveling over in Europe. I've been over there a few times. So I'm going to go into a few questions there, Mark. And so I got to know, this is a big one, what it was like you know, most boys in Canada, their childhood dream is playing in the NHL, right? You're playing mini sticks, or you're playing road hockey, and you're Wayne Gretzky, or you're Mario Lemieux, or you're Gordie Howe, and you actually made it to the show. As in Canada, we call it the show, the NHL. Take me back. What was it like? You know, you're going through this, you're trying to make it, you make it, and your childhood dream, and then you score your first NHL goal. Take me back to that beautiful day and tell me what it was like the actual energy of scoring in the NHL. Yeah. Tell me.
Well, first off, I'll give you the post part of it. If you saw my first NHL goal, I jumped up like I was a 5-year-old girl jumping around. But there's a big backstory to that.
Okay.
Because like prior to that season, so this happened. I don't know. It was a season after my. Okay, let me just start from here. I signed a contract out of university. I think that was, I think it was 2002. I signed a contract out of university. There was with Atlanta. There was only 8 games left in the season, and so I went, and they brought me along with the team. Had a couple of practices. Had a couple just with the visa issues, like playing in the States and stuff like that. You make sure that's all proper. So I couldn't play the first game. It should have been in Detroit. Atlanta wanted me to play the last 8 games of the year. Just kind of like that would be my year 1 of my contract, and then we can move into the other one. So I couldn't play in Detroit because of the visa issues. And then from Detroit, we're flying to Calgary, which is right in my hometown area, right?
Yeah.
And Atlanta's not always in Calgary. They're rarely. It's like once a year type of thing. So anyways, I was like, okay, this is great. So I find out my first game's going to be in Calgary.
No way. Nice.
I was like, how cool is this? You know, Jerome McGinley's at his peak, and you know, how are you not a fan of Jerome McGinley? Like, he is an unbelievable hockey player. So there was that, and then now all of my family's gonna be there. Like, not just mom, dad, brothers, sisters. It's now we're getting uncles and everybody coming through, which was spectacular. You know what? You couldn't ask for more. You know, all the support was amazing. But that day, everything else was a blur. There's a couple things I remember from the first game. The first game is I'm rooming with Jeff Odgers. Jeff Odgers, fighter guy, beautiful man. The guy is heart of gold, great Saskatchewan farmer. You know what? I couldn't say enough good things about this guy. But with all the family in town, usually you go have your pregame nap. You have your meal, go down for your pregame nap. But I had my pregame meal, and then I'm chit-chatting with family, and, you know, Jeff doing his routine. You know, hockey players have those routines.
Yeah.
He goes to the room, you know, does what he does, having a nap. I don't come back for a couple hours. And then I come in, and I whether I woke him up or whatever disturbed that routine. But we're getting ready to go to the game. He goes, next time, I understand it's your first game. Next time, I'm locking the deadbolt at 12:30, and nobody's coming into this room. It was just me. He's like, you'll be sleeping in the hallway. I was like, sorry, Jeff. You know, it was like, he scared me because like the routines that they put together.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, sir. But then moving on to that, you know, I go through the game. The second thing was, you know, I was playing a fair amount. We're on the power play, and I was kind of down low. My very first penalty was when Scott Nickel blocked a Danny Heatley shot, because Danny Heatley was playing the point.
Yeah.
And he was going on a breakaway, and I was just busting my butt back, and then, you know, trying to get him, tripped him up, gave him a penalty shot. My very first penalty in the NHL, I gave a guy a penalty shot.
Did he score? It's Danny Heatley.
No, Danny Heatley was on my team. It was Scott Nickel that was going.
Oh.
Danny Heatley was on the point on our power play with Atlanta. And
Scott
Nickel blocked the shot, and he went. And I was like, So, okay, that's all good. The very next game, we're in Colorado, and Dan Heino, I don't know what period it was, first or second period, I was catching a pass going across the offensive blue line, and when you cross-check somebody just in the lower back, you lose your balance.
Yeah.
And I went flying into the boards, and that's when I snapped both the tendons off my hamstring. And I was, and so then I never played any more games the rest of that season. Had to have surgery, and then I had to for rehab that year. All I could do was like one of those cycle things with your hands.
Yeah.
And everything changed from there. So it got it was a very weird thing. Even going to the Hobie Baker finalist big meet, I'm on crutches.
Oh man, that's right. Because your first team was Atlanta, and Danny Heatley was crushing it with Atlanta back in the day. Yeah.
And Kovalchuk.
Yeah, and Kovalchuk before the accident, the Danny Heatley accident.
Yeah, and Dan Snyder, I know, I played with him a bunch of times.
Oh wow! So
Snyder was awesome.
Were you there?
I was in the minors then. Yeah.
Did he passed when the car accident?
I was in the minors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another tragic.
Tough stuff. All right, so I've got some.
I don't know if did I answer all the questions? I was kind of.
So basically, nutshell, when you did score your first goal.
Oh yeah, sorry. Going back to that. That's what I'm saying. Going back to that. So that happened. So after my injury, then go through the summer, go into the next year, and then I got sent down right to the minors. Out of training camp because I wasn't in shape. Yeah. And then I ended up, again, so many good, funny stories. The reason I got called up, we're in San Antonio in the American League. And usually when you travel out of country, you bring your passports. But in my bag, I always kept a certain amount of just passport and certain things that we're always traveling, right? They were calling up Simone Gamache when we were in San Antonio. Atlanta calls. We're calling up Simone Gamache. And then, but they were up in Canada. Atlanta was in Canada, or the Thrashers. And we were down in San Antonio on the road. And they're like, well, do you have your passport? No. And they're like, okay. Then they call, he doesn't have his passport. Well, does such and such have his passport? Do you have a passport? No. Then they're like, who has, can I swear?
Yeah, go ahead.
Who has their fucking passport? The coach is in the locker room going who has their fucking passport? And I'm like, I do? Pack your bags, you're going up.
No way.
Swear to God.
That's how you got to the NHL.
That's how, for my first goal. That's how I got the first. I was like, I do.
And then when you got the call,
and I stayed up for 24 games.
And then okay. And how many games?
And then I end up staying up there. And then I think and the most frustrating thing is I hadn't scored in the American League yet because I'm a goal scorer and I was just losing my mind, right? Yeah. I got a bunch of assists, but I haven't scored yet. I get called up. And then I think it was I don't know, the third or fourth game in, I ended up scoring a goal. And that's where the relief, everything came off. Off the bat.
That was the big question, Mark.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like scoring your first NHL goal?
You can see, if you ever seen the video,
I have
jumping around because it wasn't just the first NHL goal. It was the relief of finally scoring my first pro goal because I hadn't scored in the American League yet. And I haven't, and then scoring your first NHL goal. There was just so many different things. I would just
Was it out of body? Was it out of body?
It was just it was just so many. I can't explain it. It was just so many different things.
I can imagine.
Just finally just off you, right? Like, you're just like, I can do it. I love it. Like, it was just.
Well, there's getting to the show, playing your first NHL game.
Yeah.
Then there's
everybody has
scoring
goals,
your NHL
right?
goal,
Like,
and
that's
then
a goal.
you win the Stanley
and then
Cup.
scoring a goal,
right?
You know, we have these different goals, just like in any business, right? It's like getting a job. You know what? Trying to be an assistant to whatever. Then, you know, we have those things.
It's that ladder, and it's like
ladder. And when you hit those things, especially the one that I still remember back when I was in junior hockey, my billet's daughter, she was much older than us, you know, maybe she was like 27, but she gave me this necklace because she was teaching over in Japan. You know, it's one of those things, you write things down, your dreams down, and I wrote it down, I put it back in, you know, it's a small little thing, a necklace thing. And then I went back to it after I retired and I read it, and my thing that I wrote down there for a dream that I would want to come true was having a breakaway on an NHL goalie. And awesome. I was like, it was amazing. And you know what? You got to write down your dreams. You
do. I mean, if I flip this around, you would see this massive whiteboard with just all kinds of goals and aspirations, and just it's awesome. But what's crazier is I still can't wrap my head around that you didn't make even the rep team growing up.
I know.
That just blows.
I know. A lot of people say that. I didn't know that
until now, right? Like, I did a deep research, but how would I know that unless we had this in-depth conversation like that? That for anyone that's a hockey player out there, they're going to be like, wow.
Yes. And do you know what? I go and do like conferences and speaking and stuff like that. And it's not so much, don't worry about like the NHL, making the NHL. Just love the game. Love what you're doing. If you're not loving what you're doing, you're not going to make that end goal. Yeah. Because, you know, I hate to go back to that thing of, you know what, when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. Yep. But
if the passion's not there, you're
not. My dad used to always tell me, he's like, you know what, Mark, you worked so hard to get here, and I'm so proud of you. I'm like, I didn't feel like I worked that hard because I truly was. I loved it. I loved every step of it. Whether I was I was with my buddies in the gym, working out and doing all these plyo things. That was all fun. It's competition. The competition is what I love. So if it's a struggle to get through that, then you're probably not in the right thing.
So true. Is your dad still with us?
Yeah, my dad's down in Victoria right now.
Is he? Lucky bastard.
No, yeah. He's between there and Palm Springs. Yeah, he's doing okay.
So I guess a bunch of other hockey questions. And I mean, this is awesome, Mark. Thanks for taking the time to do this, because there's a lot of people out there right now foaming for the mouth for some hockey because of COVID, right? Like,
me as well.
I was like the biggest thing out of all this is we don't get to watch hockey for Canadians. It's just like, you know what?
I should have highlights on behind me.
Just like, okay, no hockey. Oh, man.
It's hard.
It's hard. And the Oilers were making it to the playoffs, and they had a good year.
Close.
So what main differences did you notice playing hockey over in the KHL? Because when I used to play in the States, I noticed that they were a lot chippier. Americans were a lot chippier than Canadians. So again, the differences between playing in the NHL and the KHL, what are the main differences that maybe come to mind?
I've definitely been asked this question many times.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's never easy to answer, because first of all, NHL, they do have the best players in the world, but not trying to pull away from the KHL. There's amazing players over there that
lots can play there in the NHL for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of amazing players. First thing, you know, you get some bigger ice surfaces, you know. I've already played in NCAA, so we had big ice surfaces there. So it's just a matter of adjusting. But if I take it from my perspective of a North American English-speaking person going over there, trying just like the Russians do coming over here. So
Yeah.
you can flip-flop that how you will. It is difficult. First of all, trying to understand what the coaches is trying to implement,
The language.
what their tone is, what they're trying to get across to you. Second is I realize the GMs may have watched maybe a few clips of you. They don't really understand your game.
Gotcha.
And how you succeeded over the years. And then they will put you in different roles thinking that you should succeed like that. Instead of, let's say you're a very successful penalty killer.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, I'm not saying that this is what they look, I don't know what they look at, but that from my
they don't know your background and your
they don't know
much. Gotcha.
Yeah. So all of a sudden now let's say I'm on the power play. I'm the low guy on the goal line instead of being the guy in the half wall or up high.
You're the shooter. You're the goal scorer.
On the D point.
Yeah.
I wasn't the passer. Now they put me in a passing point. Yeah. And I still remember, like, it's kind of a joke, but not really. I remember back when, where was I with? One of the NHL teams I was with, were playing against Washington, and that's when Yager was playing for them.
Nice.
And the coach said, if Yager gets out there, your lines get the fuck off. You know what?
Because he's going to score.
And you were the fourth line. I was like, yeah, okay, I get it, no problem. And then my first year in the KHL, Yager was in Omsk.
Yeah.
And then the coach, through translation, says, when Yager's on the ice, you have to get out there. And I was like, are you talking to me?
Go get him.
And I was like,
attack the ageless wonder.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what? And I had transformed my game a little bit because I had become more of a, a bit of a rat, I was already good at penalty killing, but at the same point, I was like, back in North America, they told me to get off the ice when he was on it. And, it was just, when players are going over there, I don't think it may have changed. Like I've been away from it for a while. I hope they now have the ability to watch the player that they're getting and where he excels. Yeah. Back when
but
I was
on the flip side, did it make your game a little bit more well-rounded?
It did, but at the same time, you're lost for a while, and then you lose confidence because you're like, but then they're pressuring you, like, what is wrong with you? Why are you scoring? Why aren't you doing this? Why are you doing that?
And then for a goal scorer, because I was a goal scorer too, you're kind of like,
but this is not my spots. Yeah, like I'm not scoring from the goal line.
It's like when you're centerman.
I'm on a one-timer. Yeah, I was always a shooter. Yeah, one-timer.
No, it's like being a centerman and then they're throwing you on the wing. You're like, what the hell?
Exactly. You're like, what do you want from me? And then switching me back and then going like, so there was a lot of adjustment, but and then also there's adjustment of going, I never really dreamed about playing in the KHL. My dream was in the NHL. So you take it.
But you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but you're mentally, you take it like.
Gotcha.
You don't take it as serious. And then it slaps you in the face. You're like, oh shit. Yes. And as soon as that happened, gotcha. I was.
Good point. Because you had some good seasons over there.
I know I did. And after I got slapped in the face, after probably the first 5 or 6, like we go through preseason, 5 or 6 games, then you're like, okay, do you know what?
And how many games a season do they typically play?
About 40, 45, depending on how fast,
about half the
how far you go. And do you know what? Our first year with Riga, we made the playoffs. Nice. And that was giant. That was like us winning it all the team. It was amazing. It was amazing. Like the whole country was
going nuts. Oh man, you must have seen some stuff going over there.
I was in a Maxim like a Latvian Maxim magazine.
Nice.
It was like, really? I still have a picture of the magazine of me and my daughter, my oldest, when she was maybe just over a year old, and we're in a grocery store, and a person took a photo, and they're like, "Is this okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine." And then I ended up seeing it in a magazine, kind of like a Maxim magazine or whatever. And I asked one of the guys to translate, and they said, it says, "You see, they shop just like you and me." I was like, what?
That's awesome.
And I was like, oh my God.
That's
it was hilarious.
That's awesome.
That was hilarious.
Who is your current favorite hockey team?
It's Edmonton.
It's Edmonton. Oh,
it is.
Okay, we
it
don't.
Is. Do you know what
we can keep going.
No, it is. Do you know what? I still have friends. Like I just talked with Jimmy Howard a couple days ago. You know, I love those guys. Them still just being in Detroit, like Erickson,
but I mean, where you were raised too. It's the closest team.
It is, but it's even when they weren't like. When I sit down and watch a game, if let's say the Islanders or Devils are playing, I really could care. I just want to see some goals and
me too.
See some good play.
I know where you're going with
it. When I'm seeing the Oilers play, you know, I can feel myself, you know, kind of go, and so then I know I'm a fan of them.
Awesome. So then that brings me to the second side of this question. Who was your favorite hockey team growing up? Was that also the Oilers, or were you a Montreal fan, or? No, you don't. You don't like the Canadians, do you?
I fucking hate them. I like some of their players. Carey Price, unbelievable. I would never.
So was it?
True story. St. Cloud State Huskies.
Yeah.
Has the same logo.
I know they do.
But
Yeah,
it has an ST in there. I almost didn't go there because of that logo.
Because it's the same as Canadians. I love it.
Oh,
I did know when I was doing my research. I did notice that. I'm just like, why do they have that symbol? That's
it drove me nuts. And do you know what? I have hats, like St. Cloud State hats and stuff like that, that have that logo and stuff. And then I do not wear them around here because people are like, see, you're a Canadian. I'm like, no, it's St. Cloud. They're like, oh yeah, whatever. I'm like, I just don't wear them.
It is very, very similar. I noticed that. Oh, it's so similar.
I hate it. And now they have Huskies. I wish they had those.
That's what I said. Like the symbol didn't make sense to me, but
but it was the Oilers growing up in Fort St. John. My dad took me to a bunch of Oilers games here, but the other team was the Bruins. I couldn't tell you why, but like some of those guys, I just gravitated towards them. It was awesome.
My favorite team growing up was Vancouver because my favorite hockey player of all time was Pavel Bure.
Have you seen his highlights on TV lately?
It's retarded. But here's the thing.
Ridiculous.
The only other player that I know that I've watched, I think on planet Earth, that has a second gear that they get excited when they get the puck, they can move faster with the puck than without the puck, is Connor McDavid.
Very true.
It's like they're like the only two. They're like the only two.
He gets it and it's like, I'm going straight to the net.
It's another speed. It's like another level. Doesn't even make sense. It's crazy. So
Pavel Bure should have been in this era.
Yes.
He should have been this era.
Oh man,
and you know, I got to meet him a lot when I played for the Red Army team.
Nice.
The CSKA Red Army.
Nice.
I met Victor Tikhonov, Alexander McGillney, Pavel Bure.
Did you ever watch
they were always around.
Did you ever watch the special against or about Alexander McGillney coming over to America? Oh my God!
Oh, the way that he came over.
Yes. Have you ever watched that on YouTube?
Because he snuck away from the junior team.
Dude,
right?
It is amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Like seriously, tonight, if you got downtime, go watch it. I'm watching this. Like it was big news. Like he was gonna get like jail time. Like
I did.
Yeah, like
I didn't realize it was him. I thought it was another.
Come over here. My jaw was dropped watching this.
Because if he would have got caught, he more or less would have been like hung,
No, exactly. Yeah, it was that bad. I didn't know that, and he actually it was a big scene, and I didn't.
Could you imagine coming over as a kid, thinking, okay, here's the plan.
If I get caught, they're gonna kill me. Yeah, and it was. You should watch it. It's about 40 minutes, and I was just like, what? Right, and then he comes over and he's like, one of the best rookies ever, and oh man, it's just crazy.
Another fun story when I was playing for the Red Army team.
Yeah.
So Victor Tikhonov, the Russian coach, like his office, I see him every day. his office is right across from our locker room. So you don't really wave, you just kind of, every morning you come in, you shake everybody's hand, whether you're sick or not. Could you imagine Corona now?
Pounds, just throwing up pounds.
Exactly. But that was the year when Fetisov came back and played a game when he was like 50 years old. Fetisov, Hall of Famer, D-man, won a bunch of cups for the Detroit. And in Russia, they play like a 5-man unit, right? 3 forwards, 2 D. So that's kind of how you work. So in North America, it's kind of like, here's your forward lines, here's your Ds, which usually kind of pair up, but things get mixed up. And Fetisov, he's a legend over there, absolute legend. Yeah. And again, like I said, a Hall of Famer over here, and he was a president of our team. So for some, I don't know, I hear translations, but I'll take it the way I take it, trying to get revenue, get people in there. He comes back for a game. He trained for like 2 months coming to our practices. And then I was lucky enough to be on the top line, but he put himself on the top line as well.
Nice. So you played with him.
The first 10 minutes I was -2. I was like, it kills my bonuses. It killed my bonuses. I was like, what are you doing? Guys are just blowing around him. I'm like,
listen, man, that's a good story, man. I bet you we could talk for hours and hours, and you got amazing stories.
Yeah.
Who is the most skilled hockey player that you
Pavel Datsyuk.
No, you ever played against?
Oh, I did play against him too.
Yeah, but because that brings me to that's the second side of the question. So besides anyone from Detroit or Anaheim, any other teams, who was the best player that you ever played against?
Yeah, I played an exhibition game against Lemieux, and I thought he was slow. Like it was right at the end of his career.
Yeah.
I didn't realize with his length how
his reach. Yeah.
He didn't need to move fast.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell just happened?
He's 6'4". On skates, he's like 6'7". Yeah.
That game, it just kind of mesmerized me.
Yeah.
I was already mesmerized, but at the same time, going out there, his positioning and his length, like he didn't have to be this speedy guy, like flying by guys. And that's why if you watch on TV, you're like, he doesn't look that fast. Oh, yeah. He's fast.
Yeah.
He's a lot faster than you think.
That's still awesome that you got to play against Lemieux.
It was spectacular.
Dude. Yeah.
And then Yager, again, when I had to play against him a lot more in the KHL, you know what? He could be silent, dormant for 2 periods. You never wanted to poke the bear with him because
he's a big guy too. He's a big man.
Guy.
Yeah.
He literally could take control of the game. It was, and when he did, and you knew it, you're like, holy shit.
My number one guy, who I think is the number one guy who could take over a game, was Forsberg.
Yeah, and do you know what? And very similar to Yager.
Yeah,
Very similar. And Forsberg, what a gentleman. You know what? He was one of the first people. Remember I told you I snapped my hamstring my second game?
Yeah.
I was in Colorado, and then we ended up going to a steakhouse afterwards. I'm on crutches. He was the guy. Him and Milan Hajduk came over. Hey, sorry about
opposite team.
In the restaurant they came over.
Wow.
Sorry, what happened to you? You know what? I hope you get better. Enjoy your night. I was like, wow, that was really cool.
Yeah,
and he was those were the two that came over out of their way.
Another one of my favorites. It was Pavel Bure, Peter Forsberg, and Eric Lindros. And I think my mom would know that too, because I would say, "Who's my favorite hockey players, Mom?" And she had to ramble them off every night. She's like, "Bure."
And you got a nice little range. That's a nice little forward line.
Yeah.
You got your forward tracker.
Her favorite was Gilmore. You kind of look like Gilmore a little bit. Have you ever got that?
No, I actually I played with Doug Gilmore's daughter's boyfriend in Grand Rapids.
Nice.
But no.
You've never gotten that? You kind
I
of did a little bit. Yeah.
I got Carson Daly a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
And oddly enough, I don't know what time of my life, Mel Gibson a lot.
I see that a little bit. Braveheart. You never take our lives, but you take our freedom.
But Pavel Datsyuk. Oh my God.
That's what was my next question. The most skilled hockey player that you ever played with. And for most people that I know that have played with him, that's the number one. Yeah.
Like, you talk about guys like Nick Lidstrom, Scott Nader, unbelievable players. Like in their positions, like I don't play defense. They're spectacular. They make it look so easy. But if you've ever played hockey, watching the small details of what Pavel Datsyuk does, he's not always flashy. But if you're a hockey player, hockey fan, and know the real fine details of it, he almost every shift you're like, how did he
His
just
highlights
do that?
on YouTube are bananas. Like it's
and those are the highlights.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that they don't put on. Like there's other ones that like the defensive things that he does. I'm just like, I don't even like. He used to back check, and how he used to like pick a stick, the puck carrier stick, and with just ease, and then turn the transition of the game the other way, like that. It was just.
I can imagine to watch him.
Amazing.
Like just his puck handling ability and his stick handling is just, another one's Kane. Like Kane's got some sick hands.
Yeah, Kane can control the whole game as well.
Yeah.
He does it in the offensive zone. He just like there's a few guys that can do that. You just like, whoa.
Yeah, it's crazy. Whoa. It's crazy.
Like Bobby Ryan. Bobby Ryan was my
yeah. Oh, he's got a crazy bio too on YouTube that I watched. That was a crazy. Did you watch that one?
No, I've seen. I was his first professional hockey league line mate.
Oh, so you know him well. You know his story well.
Right, coming from junior, and I was in Portland, part of the Anaheim organization. He came up close to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, kid, you do whatever you want." And these special players, they have a way of just holding the puck a little bit longer, and it creates a little bit of space. And for guys, I was like, "Do whatever you want. I will find the spot." And you if you shoot, okay. If you pass, better for me, right? And he just like, when you play with these players, the ability like that, it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, he's a big goal scorer too, right? So I mean, that's him thing. Yeah, no.
But you know what? No, a lot of people don't know this. He's a passer first. He's always said this. He goes, I want to pass first. He's always been that, and they've steered him to try to be more of a shooter.
That's another crazy story. Crazy story on YouTube. I don't know which one's more crazy, Alexander McGillney or Bobby Ryan's story. They're both nuts. Crazy stories. All right. So actually, you already answered this question, but we're gonna recap it again. So after you won the Stanley Cup with the Detroit Red Wings, did you go play in the KHL to have more playing time, or was it because no NHL team signed you or picked you up? And you answered that it was because you had to make a decision for your family. You weren't really going to, be a first line or second line guy. You were going to be maybe a third, fourth line guy, and you had to make a big decision for your family, right?
Yeah, I just didn't want to go between the American League, NHL, and sign a two-way contract.
Yeah.
You know what? My American League contract when I played for Detroit was awesome, was really good. It was just a hair under league minimum for the NHL.
Yeah.
But I wasn't willing to, with the family going up, down, up, down, up, down. I was done with that.
What was your biggest contract signed?
Moscow.
How much cheddar?
It was good.
Because I don't know what the base salary is right now, but I think it's pretty close to like $1 million in the NHL.
Well, we call it tax-free. Only reason why we call it tax-free is because they pay your taxes for you, so you get your. So it was, if I was going to compare it to the NHL salary, it was 1.1.
Yeah, I mean, 1.1 for doing playing hockey, doing the thing that you love to do.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, can you ask for anything better than that?
Well, and that's just it. It was just like, and my other ones over there weren't horrible.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why players go over there.
Yeah.
At the same time, right?
Yeah. More playing time
you know
too.
What?
More playing time.
Because you know what? There is unbelievable players here. So if you're a guy that's always been in the top 6 and forwards, and you're not cracking an NHL team, but you can crack over in Europe, and you're still being able to produce, they're going to pay you.
Yeah.
They will pay you. And you can make a lot of money over
or you go over there, you get more playing time, and then the NHL sees what you actually can do, and then they bring you back over.
As long as you're young enough.
Gotcha.
And depending on where you are in that curve. The other problem with that is usually it's at the end, because again, like I said earlier, I didn't grow up dreaming of playing in the KHL. My dream was to play in the NHL, because I could have left years before, like I won an Stanley Cup and made a heck of a lot more, but that wasn't the dream. It was to see if you can play in the NHL when you're that close. And I was playing in there, but just not a complete mainstay, right?
Gotcha. You've been well-traveled. Your pro hockey career has taken you all over the world. You live in Latvia, Sweden, California, New York, Switzerland, Russia, and many other places. What is the most common thing out of all the places that you lived? If you've been all over the world, what is the most different thing that you've noticed that have stood out in other countries or other cities that you have lived in? So again, what is the most common thing of all the places, all the cities you've lived in, and what is the most difference, or what has been the one thing that has stood out specifically in a city that you've lived in that it's really out there and really different than usually in North America?
The most common thing is everybody in the world, they wake up, get their kids ready for school, take them to school, go to your work, come back, do your thing.
Just like the girl said, they go shopping. She saw you in the summer, and they shop too.
They shop too. Exactly.
They shop too.
Exactly. And that's the most, you know what, even when me and the wife talk about this, you know, if we were going to move somewhere, well, where we're going to move, we're going to be doing the same thing.
Yep.
I have three young kids. We're going to wake up, get them ready for school, lunches, out the door, go to school, go do our thing. What's really going to be different? That is common all over the world. Well, sorry, not all over the world, but for many first world countries.
Right.
Most uncommon thing, you know what? The amount in North America, what I see the most, the amount of fast food that we consume, and it's
other places they eat a little bit more cleaner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
especially
they don't have grocery carts the sizes that we do.
Okay.
They're small grocery carts. They shop for 2 or 3 days. They shop and they'll
organic.
Yeah, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's not organic. It's just, that's what it is.
Fresh. Yeah.
It's just fresh. And I'm not saying this for all of Europe, but for Switzerland and all these places, like Riga, you go there, you shop for a few days because their fridges are small, their stoves are small, everything is smaller, compact. But again, we don't have the land mass either. They don't have the land mass either. So we're kind of like Texas to Europe. You know, everything bigger and better.
That's interesting. I wasn't sure what you were going to say.
And you can say that. You can see that. Like whenever I flew from Europe back to North America, you can see that. You know, not trying to offend anybody, but just the size of people.
Yeah.
You can see it right when you get off the plane. You're like, okay, well, here I'm home. Like, there's a lot more.
The obesity in North America has gone up over the years. It's huge. Okay, the big question. For all the young boys and girls out there, everybody who watches this, I have to know what it was like winning the Stanley Cup and hoisting the Stanley Cup over your head. Let us have it, Mark.
Well, again, going back to some of the things I said, you know, you always hear it in whenever you watch a championship, like afterwards, whether it's a Super Bowl, the pennant, the Larry, the NBA trophy.
Yeah.
You truly are speechless. Like there's so many things going through your head. You're spinning. You're just so happy, and like emotions are just flying out of you. You really can't think. It's one of those things, and you're like, this is spectacular. If there was a word for it, maybe we should come up with a word that people can use, because it really is. You truly are speechless when it happens. And then your family comes on. Like, I remember one unbelievable moment, like I'm not going to bring it down. Like, my mom passed away during the Anaheim playoffs.
Oh, wow.
Of brain cancer. So that was hard, but then we ended up winning the Stanley Cup a month later. So there's lots of emotions there.
Wow.
Wow. So, but my dad was on the ice, and my dad lost his father when he was 12 years old. And I had the cup. My dad's crying on my shoulder. Never seen my dad cry, saying, I remember watching the playoffs with my dad. I was like, Dad, don't do this now. I'm like, now I'm crying. I'm like, why now?
But I mean, he probably almost was like a big.
Oh,
like,
he was outside of his body.
Yeah. Wow.
He was and I was like, no. But it was one of those, like, I will never forget.
Yeah, and that's
that
the crazy
stuff.
thing is something like that. Somebody winning the cup like yourself. It's not just you winning the cup. It's all your
whole
family. It's Fort St. John, because that's where you're from, or that's where you're raised. Like, it's like, there's probably so it's
unbelievable. Everybody just is so passionate. Like the amount of support that you get, and everybody's just so, like, they're hanging on the edge. They love it. And of course, it's nice to be on the tip of that edge going, like, here I am. But at the same time, it's just like you want everybody to grab on and be like, this is amazing. And everybody enjoys it. And hopefully they all remember all that as well.
It's awesome.
Like the way I do. Yeah.
So many people felt horrible and helpless when they heard about the Humboldt Broncos bus crash, which is the hockey team that had the horrible bus crash and accident a few years ago that killed 16 people. However, it must have really hit home for you and been a little harder for you than most people, because you actually played in the same league and played against the Humboldt Broncos. Take us back to that day. Take me back to when you heard the bad news and the bus crash and the feelings and emotions that you went through, because I'm guessing you played in that arena. And I know, I definitely cried when I saw that. I played minor hockey, played AAA hockey, midget AAA hockey. And I remember those bus rides. I remember those rides, and just, you got this young people just going to a game, and then all of a sudden, boom. And you actually played against them, played in the league. Take me back to when you actually personally heard the news.
So just to start, like, you know about riding the bus.
Yeah.
You can almost, you know exactly.
Put myself in that. Yeah. Yeah.
You know exactly what they're doing. They were getting ready. They're 20 minutes from the arena.
Yeah. They
were just getting prepped to go to the rink, because, all these emotions go through. But going back to the start of that, it was like you. I cried multiple nights. Like, it still makes me. I couldn't even imagine, like, whether player, father, mother, friend, anything. It just.
Did it take you back?
It's oh my God.
Instantly in that arena? Because for me,
it brought me back to the bus rides. Instantly. Wow. To the bus rides, because I know exactly what they were doing when they got hit. just from knowing the time frame, they're all just kind of, I know for a fact, they were all just kind of waking up from their little nap because they're traveling, they're getting close. Okay, hey, come on, guys, let's get our, whether their suits on, their ties, and getting all that kind of stuff, and then boom. And like that is, it's just heartbreaking, and not even knowing what's going on after that, and all of a sudden it's over. Then moving on from that, it was, I remember like the bus rides from Weyburn, whether it's to Fort Capel or to Yorkton, like the roads are, there's no shoulder. It's tight. It's tight up there. And, thankfully, like those bus drivers, they're amazing. They're great bus drivers. And for what they do on a daily basis, mainly for peanuts, if not nothing.
Yeah.
And that goes for all hockey communities all over North America. There's so many great volunteers. But with all that, it was so hard to, you feel so helpless. You wanted to, like many Canadians, everybody wanted to help out. How do we help? Like, you feel helpless. The helplessness really hurt a lot of people, made everybody feel even
sticks
worse.
On the front door was really cool. It
was amazing.
And I even felt a little, I don't know, gratitude. I felt like I was doing my little part. I just had when it was weird. I put my sticks out, and I just had this little feeling that I was kind of
hugged your heart.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
When I saw that,
it felt like it was something.
Yeah.
And do you know what? And one of my friends here in town, Ryan Arndt, he was like, he called me. He's like, Hardy, we got to do something. We got to do something like now. And I'm like, absolutely. And then we jumped on it. There was a good 8 of us that instantly just started putting like this fundraiser together. And within less than 7 days, we raised $138,000.
I seen that
from Fort McMurray.
Wow.
Like with Mark McDonald, the Boston Pizza owner, with his wife Liz. We got donations from all around the city. Had a huge auction of Boston Pizza and raised $138,000. And then me and Ryan, we took those funds and we drove to Humboldt, and we wrote checks to every family.
You actually delivered them?
We delivered them.
Wow.
And because with the GoFundMe page, it's going to take a long time to be able to get the funds, everything. And we were able to write a little over $5,000 check per family to every person that was affected by that was on the bus.
Wow. And
they had it in hand at that moment. And, and that was really, that was our way of saying
it was one of
our helplessness.
It was one of the biggest GoFundMe pages ever.
Huge. And they're still trying to divide that up.
17 million, something like that. Yeah.
It got really, no, I don't think it got that big. I thought it was like more around the 5.
Was it 5? I think it was more
huge though.
It was huge.
And that's where, where lawyers get involved and all that kind of stuff.
No, I'm pretty sure it was because I was like, no, it was up there. I think it was about 6. I'd have to double check. It was up there.
But again, it was the biggest one.
It was up there.
I've ever seen.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So we were just happy we were able to put money in their hands right off the bat without anything tied to it.
Yeah.
Here you go, and help.
Well, because with the parents, after something like that, you can't go to work. You don't even know. You can't.
I couldn't even imagine. You can't even think straight.
Life will never be the same, but especially the first 3, you don't even know what to do with yourself.
And the thing is, we didn't hand it to the families. We just handed it to the general manager there and say, hey, please hand this to
when
them,
they're ready.
Because we're not looking for, we were just like, here, just give this to them. And we went there just to be at the memorial type of thing, to see that. We weren't looking for recognition. Here, take this, and let him hand it out when they feel it was right.
That being said, what about yourself? What's the hardest thing Mark's ever gone through in his life?
I think the transition from hockey to real world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely warn every parent. You know what? Don't always kind of what's the word, like, don't always wish what, like, for them to be, whether in the NHL. I want my kid to be here, here, and there, because afterwards, you know what? It's not easy, because you have all these huge things happen in your life so early in your life. Then afterwards, you're like, okay, well,
You're lost.
yeah, you're like, well, how do I find those giant moments again?
Mm.
Right? Second thing is make sure education. Whether it's trades, whether it's just being educated in anything, going to school, doing, make sure that they're being, even after high school, being properly educated and making sure they're aware of what's to come. Don't be naive to the fact that, oh, they're going to make millions of dollars. No, it doesn't happen. It's a very, very, very small amount of people.
That's interesting that you say that, because you could name a rock band and I could pretty much know their bio. I absolutely love bios. Probably why I'm in podcasting. Like, I love having this interaction with you, but I almost just as much love the deep dive research about the guests and where they came from. And, you know, like you just said, when I was done, I was kind of lost. I had Stanley Cup over my head. I played against Lemieux. I was over here in Lafayette. I was over doing this. I was doing that. And then, like, the rock stars, that's why when they're getting big, a lot of them, you know, turn to substance abuse because they're on stage selling out stadiums. And
they're looking for the high again.
And then we go to our hotel room and it's just us. Like, it's just, or I go back to regular life. How do you have the pinnacle up here? And then you just go, like, they're like, you need something, because
where do you find that stage again?
Yeah, where's the silver
on the stage?
Yeah,
like when you're on stage, like a rock star.
Yeah,
and you have all of this.
Yeah,
now you're searching for that again.
Yeah,
where you're searching it from.
Yeah, and that's where the drugs come in.
And you're searching it through danger.
Yeah,
doing
trying to get that high.
Get that high.
Yes, yeah.
And that's the thing. Don't.
So you've experienced that just on a different level. Different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I know I've done it. I've tried. You know, you search for it. It's hard.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be, and that's where education is giant in this for parents, and that's why I know a lot of parents get excited when whether their kids get drafted, let's say the WHL or something like that. Which, to WHL credit, they are now giving money towards schooling after you're done or during.
Nice.
But it's not the same as going to like NCAA. You look down in the States, all the kids down there, the kids playing junior hockey, their goal is to go NCAA, go to university. In Canada, it's all major junior. And major junior just kind of gives you, again, it's a good avenue to the NHL, which has been for years and years and years.
Yep.
But I beg parents to do their research first on major junior compared to NCAA. So if they play one major junior exhibition game, they lose their eligibility NCAA.
Wow, didn't know that.
It's huge, and many don't.
Yeah.
And that's where I do conferences talking about that. I usually take like 30 minutes and talk about how you can lose your eligibility, because I played against so many good hockey players that if they did play NCAA, they probably would have had but they never got drafted out of major junior, and then they end up going to Canadian University or a tech school, playing hockey there, and then it just kind of fizzles out, even though they were a great hockey player. But gotcha. It's not for everybody. You know what? And you know what? The system's built for
The States have came a long way though
Huge.
Yeah.
And that's part of my other
Yeah.
conversation. Like the scouting over the past 15 years of NCAA Division I is completely different
Yeah.
than it was back when we were teenagers. It was Canadian major juniors.
Yeah.
So we just got to retrain that thought with parents.
What's one of your big passions in life besides hockey? What else lights your fire? Is there something else that is a big passion of yours?
My kids definitely get me fired up.
The little rascals in the background there.
Oh my God. Trying to teach them, like being a stay-at-home teacher.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All the praise to all you teachers out there.
My mom was a teacher. Yeah.
Oh,
still is a teacher. She'll probably be retiring in the next couple of years, but yeah, she's still going at it. Yeah.
Absolute saints.
Yeah.
You know what?
I had my mom as a teacher.
Oh, you were homeschooled?
Oh yeah, my own mom. No. She was a teacher, but I just had her at class. I'd be like,
that must have been tough.
Oh yeah. Here's a good story. Go do your homework. I don't have any. Yeah, you do. I'm your teacher. I know what homework you have. I'm like, damn it. Upstairs I go.
you can't say anything to. Oh, okay.
And my brother, who still lives in Fort McMurray, had her as well. So yeah, we had her growing up. It was tough.
She must have had patience.
Man, she would kick me out of class before I actually got in. She'd be like, "Oh no, you're gonna be bad today. No, get to the principal." True story.
You went to bed too late last night. No, you're gonna be a pain in the ass. Beat it. But it's tough. Like here, like you negotiate for 2 hours, and then you finally get them to start doing homework, and you get 20 minutes of homework done, and you're just.
So being a busy guy, realtor, businessman, family man, how do you do all that you do? How do you allocate your time to your businesses so you're not running around doing 100 different things, getting anything done like some people out there? Because, I mean, you might go back to the scheduling, like when the first game there were the guy said, I'm going to lock the deadbolt. And, those practices teach you. So tell me kind of maybe with the strict NHL schedule and what have you, how do you kind of allocate your time so that you aren't running around with a chicken with its head cut off? And
well, that's a good question, because with the NHL, or pro hockey, you're on a schedule.
Yeah.
Tuk. Here, Mark, here's your schedule. Be here this time, this time, this time. Now, like this, other than your kid's schedule of getting them to school by this time, so you have to, let's ignore quarantine, but get them to school at this time, be here, pick them up here, do their sports. So first of all, that's the first thing you got to put in your schedule. And then you have the wives, my wife's business and her schedule. So it has, like, that part has been an absolute, I don't want to say, it is a challenge, because you're trying to fight for times here and there between my work, the kids, her work. So thank God with technology, all these different apps that you can sync in for family calendars, that you can go and, stay in communication with the wife saying, hey, I just want to make sure you're going to be home by this time. Yep, I'll be home because I have to go, let's say, go show a house at this time. So don't be late. And, it's tricky.
And you're a realtor, which I know all about that.
Yeah, and it can happen at any moment.
Yeah, it can.
Right, and you're like, well, if it just doesn't work, that's why it's nice to have other family members that are in real estate. Be like, hey, do you mind going to show this house or deal with this person? It's a juggling act every day. Every day. Even when you see your schedule in the morning and you're like, yep. Okay, we got this. By 9:30, it's like, and you're like.
Well, the way I always say it is, you've got A, B, C, D, right, as a realtor, and then all of a sudden you get a phone call and it trumps A, and that comes most important, and then all of a sudden that's A, then you still have A, B, C, D, and then you're just
exactly.
Like,
and then you're just like, you're like a ninja at that point.
Yeah.
It does get tricky, but everything's manageable.
So being such a go-getter, what is the best way for people to achieve your abundance, your views on life, and your energy, because you got great energy. You've done things that people can only imagine to do. Is there anything special that you have or that anyone can achieve out there? Or what do you think it is that kind of makes you the way you are?
ADHD.
Just like me.
It gives you energy.
Yeah. You just channel it and you put it in the right spots.
Yeah. But you know what? I hate to be cliche on this.
Cliche,
It truly is, like, back with hockey. If
Yeah.
you truly do love what you're doing, I hate saying this, but you will truly never work a day in your life. But if you really do love what you're doing, it will never feel like work. It won't. I'm not saying I love real estate. I don't, because at times it feels like work.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm trying to find that happy medium where I do really like it. And if it's not for me, I will find the next thing.
Yeah.
And when that comes up, I will run with that. And if I don't like it then, I will find the next thing.
Yeah.
It for me, like watching the kids doing, like my kids doing what they're doing, that's awesome. I love coaching them hockey. Like, I coach 2 of them in hockey. I love it. And I've been offered other coaching jobs, but it just takes away from the family time.
You have the little kids coming up to you and asking you questions about the NHL?
Yeah, as they get older, they understand more about it. Yeah, as my 10-year-old, my daughter, she's like, like with dad.
How many boys and how many girls?
I have my 2 older girls that
Okay.
are 12 and 10, and then my son's 5.
Gotcha.
So my 10-year-old daughter plays hockey, and my 12-year-old's in cheer, which she's amazing. And
She's in what?
In cheer, like cheerleading.
Oh, cheerleader. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she's awesome. They're both amazing at what they do, and they're just awesome. They got the mentality for.
Your little guy playing puck yet?
Yeah, he just started this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to be a ninja. He wants to be a ninja.
Is he doing the cheer and the pylons?
Yeah, he's a tripod.
He's a tripod.
He wants to be a ninja, though.
I specifically, so my brother lives in Fort Mac, and he's actually the coach for my nephew. And I specifically made sure that Uncle Dan bought him his first pair of skates, because if he makes it to the show, I want my piece. I want my cut. I want my 5%.
Have him sign him now too.
Yeah, I bought you your first skates, so I want Uncle Dan wants his cut.
Just wants free tickets already. Well done.
Yeah,
investments.
I actually got a buddy I grew up with, who his son's like a little phenom, and his last name's Marcotte, and he lives in Alaska, and Crosby and Lemieux invited him down to Pittsburgh. That's how good he was, to watch a game. And he was on the Steve Harvey show. Absolutely phenom. Oh yeah, you should watch this kid.
Where does he live?
Alaska. But he's Canadian. I grew up with him in Nova Scotia, and then they moved to Alaska.
That's quite the move.
His father was always
fisherman.
Like, what's that?
You're going from one ocean to the other ocean. Are they fishermen?
Coast to coast. No, he just really loved the outdoors. Like he was track and field runner, all-star, just crush it. And then, in the spare time, he'd come play soccer with us, score 4 goals, and just good at playing hockey, just stupid talent, right?
Natural.
His whole family was like that. But his son he keeps his course. He'll make it for sure. He's something else. Yeah.
Well, I just saw that kid from Vancouver just got drafted as an underager to the major junior. So I don't keep up with the major junior very closely, but there's so many more so-called phenoms coming about.
Well, there's one every 10 years, right? You had Gretzky, you got Lemieux, you got Crosby, you got McDavid. Right? They just happen to be all Canadian. I'm just saying they happen to be all Canadian.
Thank goodness. But I think we're going to get 2 to 3 every 10 years now, because
you think you're going to see 2 McDavids or 3 McDavids the next 3 years?
I think so.
Or the
I
next
really
10 years?
do. I really do, because with all the technology, with what's out there for the kids, their minds are developing so much faster than ours did when we were kids.
Yeah.
And like the way that, you know, people are trying to train their kids, which I'm not saying is healthy, like trying to put them on the fast track to pro hockey.
Yeah.
The kids still need to have their own imagination. I truly, truly believe that, instead of being instructed the whole way. Instruction is good, but imagination is better. I think we're going to get more and more phenoms, maybe not 1 every 10 years, but and that's what it's been like.
That would be great for hockey. Be great for hockey, right? Like, I mean, McDavid is oh man, he's fun to watch, right? Like, I mean, of course I've watched him a lot, right? right.
But do you know what? This year I have watched him a lot. I truly think Leon Draisaitl is the MVP of that team this year.
I'd have to agree with that.
The way he penalty kills puts him over the top, because McDavid doesn't do much of that.
Yeah.
The way he is in the D zone can compare it. It's been spectacular.
This year, if you had to pick one person to build your team around, would it be Leon Draisaitl or McDavid?
It would be. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but if you're just saying just this year, it would be Draisaitl.
I might have to agree with you though.
He is a full round player.
Sorry, McDavid.
No, but that's like picking, you know, like which raspberry do you pick? This one that's just as plump as this one.
Yeah.
You know, like McDavid. If you're an owner, you're going to pick McDavid. Yeah. He puts people in the seats.
Yep.
He does, and I love, like, the guy is spectacular. When he takes off, it just blows your mind.
Yeah.
McDavid, Draisaitl, same thing. If we're just talking about building a team around, Draisaitl has all those characteristics of he plays the entire ice so good, but the good thing for the Oilers, they got both of them. So
That's right. No, it's a shame COVID happened for so many reasons, right?
So many.
But yeah, hockey's definitely one of them for us Canadians. Okay, so what I'm going to do, Mark, is we're going to go through a 5 random questions kind of speed round.
Okay.
And then we're going to, you know, kind of put everything into perspective. I'm going to ask you just maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then we're good for the podcast. And so here we go. It's time to play 5 random questions. This is where I ask you 5 random questions. You answer any way you like, kind of a little bit of a speed round. If there's one piece of life advice you could give your 20-year-old self, what would it be? Go.
Listen more, talk less.
Fair enough. Number 2, what is one thing not a lot of people know about you?
I'm a really good baseball player. A softball, fastball.
Softball.
Softball. Not slow pitch, fastball.
Are you a hitter or an outfielder?
Outfielder. Defense. Nice. Oddly enough, defense. Since I'm an offense in hockey.
What is the coolest, funnest, or funniest, most unique nickname anyone has ever given you, and what is the story behind it?
Ooh.
You must have some nicknames playing hockey, playing pro.
It's always been Hardy. Like
Hardy, okay.
But people don't stray from that very far.
Okay.
Hardy. Back when I was in like high school or elementary, my last name Hartigan, so it's almost like hard again. And then people would say, Mark, your middle name should be Haza. Mark Haza Hartigan.
Oh, kids are creative when they're young, aren't they?
So that could probably be the worst, but professionally, it's always been Hardy.
Hardy, fair enough. Who is the most famous person you have ever met?
Wow. David Beckham in Moscow.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. Yeah. Was there a massive crowd around?
We were at the during Christmas time. We were at the Ritz-Carlton.
Okay.
No, it wasn't a huge.
Okay. Yeah.
But him and his wife.
Nice. That's a good one. Here's my favorite question, because I'm always interested in what people are going to say. What would be your last meal if you were on death row?
It's funny. I've said it. I've already thought about this.
Did you watch one of my podcasts? Did you?
No. I think about this all the time.
Okay, let me finish it. What would be your last meal if you're on death row? What would be a few things that you would want to eat?
Couple things.
Okay.
Earl's Hot Wings.
Specifically Earl's Hot Wings.
Yeah, I got a few things. Okay. Earl's Hot Wings with the Parmesan dip. Okay. The chicken Parmesan at Martini's in Columbus.
Okay.
In Columbus, Ohio, because it was spectacular.
Good.
And the third is the what is it called? It's at the Cheesecake Factory. It's a Parmesan. It's a pasta dish with like some cut up asparagus in it. Oh my God, it's gonna drive me nuts. Because they have a giant menu in Cheesecake Factory. It's like a chicken penne chicken pasta at the Cheesecake Factory.
Sounds good.
And it has like cut up asparagus in it. Oh, amazing. So, but number one,
I haven't.
And number three, the lemon chicken from Buco di Beppo, and that's Buco di Beppo is in multiple places.
Where?
It's like an old Italian. There's in Columbus again.
Columbus.
It was right across the rink. Lemon chicken. It has like these capers.
I gotta go to Columbus to get this meal.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Is it worth it?
Do you know what? And no joke, across from the arena in Columbus, there used to be a prison right across the street from there. It's gone now.
Yeah.
But
makes this question kind of even more funnier, right?
and it ties it all together.
Yeah, it does.
And this is not the reason why I pick it, but they actually still have like a kind of the entry stone thing where they had it. But the same question you asked, they used to ask that to those prisoners for their last meal, and they used to pick Buca di Beppo.
No way.
Yeah, no joke.
How crazy is that?
It is crazy.
Mark,
that old.
I haven't had anyone more prepared for that question than you. And I could do 1,000 episodes. I don't think I'm ever going to have anyone most prepared for that question.
But it made me think when I did hear about that, and I always think about it because everybody always asks, "What's your favorite food?" I'm like, well, I always go to hot wings because I love hot wings. Yeah. But the lemon, that
is too good. That is good.
The chicken Parmesan in Martini's restaurant in Columbus, just off. I could almost give you the street. It's that good. It's that good. Unfreaking believable.
Honey, we gotta go to Columbus. Yeah.
Oh, and then their bread with the oil dip, like the balsamic vinegar and oil. I love.
It's good.
Love.
Okay, one last question, Mark. Before we finish up here, what is one key message in life that you can give to help all the people out there listening with all your learnings, all your traveling around the world, playing hockey at the highest level? What is your one key message in life that you can share with everybody that's listening?
Well, that's really deep. That's deep. I know it seems cliche. Education. Get it soon. I truly wish I would have read more books when I was younger. There's more books available now to us electronically. I would say, even if you don't like it, force your way through a chapter a week, a chapter a night, or however your reading goes. I still have trouble reading, but I read these books. There's so many smarter people out there than we can ever imagine that have been through so many things. Just read a little bit. That's all I can say. I know it, but there's audiobooks. Listen to them.
But it compounds.
It does.
And then
it's going to change your frame of mind.
Exactly.
it will put you on different paths that you'll never expect to go on,
And
that you never thought you could go on.
Albert Einstein says the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. So when you read that, those 5 pages, those 7 pages, and that's the whole reason for this podcast, is to inspire people out there. And a lot of people, they don't even know what personal development and bettering themselves is.
Not a clue.
A whole other world.
Not
a clue.
Until you get around other people or think about what other people think like, you will never be able to think differently.
Yeah.
Because your brain's just going to keep you down that tunnel.
Yep. No, that was a great answer. And it's so true. And I mean, myself, I've been a student in personal development ever since I was like 14, 15. Tony Robbins was my first exposure, right?
Me too.
Yeah. Oh, man, see, if I would have known that, I could have put in the what we had in common section.
I remember buying those DVDs.
Yeah.
And John Wooden, the John Wooden book I read in college.
Yeah.
Don't sweat the small things.
Yeah. Jim Rohn's got my favorite quote of all time, right? And I mean, Jim Rohn was Tony Robbins' mentor. So he's the godfather, right? So there's just so many good ones. And that's the whole point.
And there's more and more.
Oh, tons. And everybody has their own flair and their own flavor.
And that's just it. You don't have to go with what we pick.
Yeah.
Go with what interests you.
The analogy I have is like music. Sometimes you're maybe in a rock and roll music. Sometimes maybe you're in a more of a kind of whatever music you're into. Same is these personal speakers that, motivate you. Sometimes you're going to be like, I got my Grant Cardone pen on, where he's just like, go, obsessive. And then you've got other people that are maybe a little bit more gentle. And sometimes you're not into that mood, right? So it's all depends on what mood that you're in.
There's Gary V, aggressive.
Gary V's another.
You got big spectrum. Find your groove, and it doesn't have to be motivational.
Yeah.
Find a psychologist, whatever. Something that gets your juices going.
Yep. To
get your feet moving forward.
Yeah, and the mind just leveling up.
And it will just automatically grow like that.
Awesome.
Get out there and experience. Oh, I'm going to remember the question I told you. One of the most amazing places in Europe to visit. Dubrovnik, Croatia. Spectacular. It's awesome. Like, I call it the Hawaii of Europe.
I got to go back and take notes during this whole podcast and be like, okay, Mark said to go eat this. Mark said to go eat this. I'm going to have a Mark Hartigan bucket list by the end of this podcast.
You'll love it. Dubrovnik, Croatia. That's, at least look it up and think about that if you're ever going over to Europe. It is awesome.
Awesome. Well, Mark, I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much for coming on Edmonton Real today. It was an absolute pleasure to get to know you better. And I just wanted to thank you for today. I appreciate it. It's been a great chat. Yeah, man, it's been awesome. Like you said, nice and easy when we're talking about me. It was 2 hours flew by. It's always easy when you're talking about yourself, right? Yeah. Well, we're both, hockey guys, right? So exactly. That makes it fun. Oh, no, it was good. I appreciate it. And for me, being a fan of the NHL and talking to somebody like yourself that has hoisted the Stanley Cup, show the rings up again. Come on, one more time. Let me see those beauties. How many can I put on my finger? I'm just kidding. I have even like the junior ones, mean a lot too, right? Yeah. Like just looking at those things, there you go. Look at the bling bling. 50 cents got nothing on you. Remember back in the 90s, it was holy smokes, look at those. Lift your hands up. Oh my God. Oh yeah. Oh, that was the big one. Uh-oh. But anyway, yeah, they're all special in their way, right? Awesome, man. No, that's you should be very proud, man. But like I said, just to kind of dive a little deeper with somebody that's been here at the pinnacle and made it to the show, and like I said at the beginning of the podcast, not only did you make it to the show, that stat when I was doing the research on you was amazing. There's less than 10 people on planet Earth that have won Stanley Cups back to back with 2 different teams. Did you know that stat? Oh, somebody wrote an article about it a long time ago. Kind of like a spam article, like kind of a funny thing. Yeah. And I got a good kick out of it, laughing about it.
It is funny. I enjoy it. It's not something I'll hang my hat on.
Yeah.
But
it's an interesting stat.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
But you know what? Also, with on top of that, remember everybody that has won the Stanley Cup or maybe win the Stanley Cup. You know what? Just know, like, these hockey player guys, they're great people. They're when it's all over, they're just like us. Like, they're, you know, I know for a fact, like, everybody we play with, they don't look at themselves as famous or big role models.
Yeah. They don't put themselves on the pedestal.
They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. They truly are doing what they do on a normal basis, even without the cameras rolling. You know what? It's because you love what you do and you try to respect what you do.
No, it's really good to see the other side, right? You've been there.
Absolutely.
You played against Lemieux. I mean, you don't get much bigger than that, right?
I never told you this. My biggest NHL moment was starting a game at Madison Square Garden, facing off against Mark Messier.
Nice.
Starting the game.
Nice. What year was that?
Square. That was my first year in 2003.
No way.
I couldn't.
Did you beat him?
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
No, you didn't.
You
beat the Moose on a face-off.
And you know what? For him, it was just another face-off. But I grew up watching this guy. And it blew my mind.
You were shaking in your little booties.
I was during the anthem. I was like, "Oh my God,
yeah,
this is amazing."
Oh man,
that will never leave my memory.
That's awesome.
I still that was. I should have brought that up earlier, but
I mean, we could probably talk for a couple more hours and then all kinds of stories.
Many stories.
Many stories.
People got to go to bed though.
Yeah. This was Edmonton Real. I'm Daniel J. Smith. Thank you for watching. And remember, the sky's not the limit. Your mind is.
Absolutely.